Have you missed anything from Tower of God if you only watched the anime? Yes, of course you have. Now, this is the second video discussing the differences between the show and the webtoon. The first video covered episodes 1 and 2, but this one will cover from episode 3 all the way up to episode 13. So basically, the remainder of the show. And since I have a lot to cover, let's begin. During the scene where both Bam and Aguro talk about the sky and the stars, Rak had a laughing reaction. Then the big guy shows up and starts telling his hints. After being called out by Aguro, the big guy brings Aguro's past. Compared to the webtoon, there are two differences. The first is Rak was really suspicious of Bam, especially when he said that he mostly lived in a dark place. They made it seem like Rak is figuring out that Bam is an irregular. The other difference was the big guy did not know Aguro or even his past. During Aguro's flashback, we hear a lot of people talking about how he is kicked out and disgraced the family, which ended up causing him a lot of trust issues. The only difference here is that these voices talked about how talented and scary he is, which is very fitting in my opinion. The more we see him planning and figuring things out, we start to understand how good he is as a leader, with a few obvious problems that he needs to overcome. He is also one of the most interesting characters to follow his growth and change. He stands out with how twisted he can be, while also being open about it and not hiding it. In the anime, Team Bam enters the door test, gets told what the test is, then they have to figure things out. Rak starts to panic, Bam is following him around, and finally Aguro is calm and already analyzing the test. During Aguro's analyzing, his personal problems were coming out, as well as some things from the past, which eventually just stopped him completely. That is until Rak opened the door and won the test for the team. Afterwards, Han Sang-yu and Aguro have a word. Then we get to see the other contestant winning the test as well, with Team Shibisu being by far the best out of all of them. For this part, everything is almost similar, except Rak's reason for opening the door was way more logical than in the show, and his reasoning makes him look smarter. Almost. Now, when it comes to the other teams, we do get a lot more contests in the webtoon than in the anime on how each team passed, and almost all of them opened the door for stupid reasons, except for Team Shibisu. Finally, the anime made it look like Aguro was being targeted by both the big guy and the test director Yu, both knowing his past and bringing it up. However, the big guy says nothing in the webtoon. As for Han Sang-yu, he just is less direct with it in the webtoon than in the anime, but he knew in both mediums. Back to the show, we moved into a different area, with people taking their first test, the survival test. We see a team of 3 who have killed everyone else. The show then moves to Quanta and Han Sang-yu, talking about how only 3 people survived and what will happen to them and how they will deal with them. This part was very different. First off, the deathmatch was not untimed. It was a 30-minute survival test. In the anime, Quanta made it so only 3 people would survive, which is why it's an untimed deathmatch. While in the webtoon, it sets a 30-minute time limit. Whoever survives after 30 minutes will pass the test. Secondly, and the biggest difference in my opinion, when Han Sang-yu asked about the winning team, he asked if there was a princess or an irregular. Now, Quanta did not say anything in the anime. However, in the webtoon, Quanta confirmed that there were both in that team, a princess and an irregular, confirming the identity of Endorsi. As for the irregular, it is somehow unclear, but it's highly likely it is pointing at Rahel. Director Yu obviously called Quanta an idiot because he technically handed a death sentence to all the other participants, and we will learn why when we get into the feats of the irregulars and the princesses. When the director made the crown games his fix to Quanta's problem, to Quanta's problem, it took all night to get the full plan to tell Little Roy to hold the game. That is technically important because of the real purpose of the game. We will also learn more about it later in this video. Before the crown games, while the regulars were waiting, Shibisu does approach Team Bam They talk for a bit, then Leroy shows up and offers the crown games. The difference here is that Chibisu does not meet Aguro, he only meets Bam and Rak. For the crown games, some rules were slightly different. Round 3 had a lot more action. As for round 5, the bodysuit girl was less aggressive initially, as well as Endurus's fighting style was different. In the anime she uses a needle, and for the webtoon she uses a compressed shield and a small throwing needle, similar to a kunai. Finally, with Han Sang-yu and Leroy talking about the crown game, Han Sang-yu is a lot more forward with Leroy on why they held the game in the webtoon than in the anime. Also, he is completely aware of Bam and his power. Even worse, he knew Bam will lose for Rahel. The whole point of the crown games was to have the two meet and have both of them drop out of the tower. By both I mean Bam and Rahel, which is also why it took Han Sang-yu until night to get the plan ready and inform Leroy of the crown games. And then they also low-key confirmed that the 10 family leaders are all irregulars. Starting the episode, Anak went into Shibisu's room, trying to figure out the Black Marsh. After that, she spoke with Endurusi outside Shibisu's room. Anak and Endurusi have talked about a few more things in the webtoon. First off, Yuri Jihad was confirmed to have become a high ranker within 100 years. And the high rankers are the top 1% of all rankers. By the way, that is actually very quickly. Afterwards, Anak asked Endurusi about her team. Endurusi heavily implied that Rahel is an irregular, but it does not seem like Endurusi realizes it. Rak had a drip change. Now, when Bam woke up and tried to ask about Rachel, Aguro did not tell him the truth. However, Aguro's reasoning was different between the two mediums. In the webtoon, it is because he promised her not to tell him. Meanwhile, in the show, it is because he does not like her at all and does not want Bam anywhere near her. Next up is the position test. The rules of this test was not clarified well enough. Individuals do not get disqualified if they are injured. They lose points depending on their attendance. Also, it has not been mentioned, but some people received an additional point. For each test, the best performing individual received the point. The regulars who received extra points are Anak, Shibisu, Aguro, and Rahel. Anak and Rahel probably received their point from the survival test since they took the test separately. It is that or Anak got it from the Shinsu wall, if it counts as a test. Shibisu is the obvious one with the door test. Finally, Aguro should get his point from the crown games, but that is just my guess. Next up is the wave controller class, and there are a few extra details to know. Shinsu can be changed into different things like fire, ice, or light, probably any element actually. To control Shinsu, a contract is needed, with the exception of items, because items were given permission from the admin at the workshop where Shinsu weapons are made. Now, there's not a lot of things said about the workshop here, but at least it is mentioned. Also, Laura has formed a contract, not by mistake as the show makes it to be. He knew a lot about Shinsu because he is from the 10 great family and he already knows about the rules of the tower. Next up are buckets. Everyone was given an E-rank bucket from Hedon except for Bam. These buckets can only form contract with the first 40 floors. Anything beyond that, they will need to buy a new higher grade bucket. Finally, this might be clear or maybe not, but all the positions made contracts on the first day as well. And not only the wave controllers, all the positions will use Shinsu in some way, therefore everyone must make a contract. In the next episode, we get to see Anak's flashback, and during the flashback, there is one major difference. The individual who rescued Anak and escaped was shown. He looks a lot like Ivan the guide, but it's not confirmed if it is him. However, it is highly likely the individual is a guide. Moving into another wave controller class. In this one, we see the instructor explains Shinsu measuring units. Honestly, no one should care. And also talks about using multiple bangs. A bang is very important, especially for combat. The more you have, the better, because it can be used for both attack and defense. If, let's say, you made one bang and your opponent made 3, one will cancel the other and there will be 2 that you will need to deal with. So that's why making more than one is somewhat important. Something that has been stated throughout the series was Bam's talent. Here we do get a clear comparison in terms of talent. The wave controller instructor said it took him 2 years after learning Shinsu to make a bank, and he was a genius. Meanwhile, Bam did it in a week after learning Shinsu. We also do get to see the message that was sent to Ho from the get-go. Starting from here, we get to the position test. Starting off with the difference number 1, Shibusu versus Quanta was a lot more brutal. Shibusu gave a full protagonist speech while getting beat down. Another major difference is the judging. In the show, we have only Leroro and Han Sang-yu. In the Webtoon, we also get to have the other 3 position instructors present, and they did give some insight into the test as well. Suspendium was not mentioned in the anime. Suspendium is a special mineral that floats in Shinsu, and it is used to make items like pockets, inventories, and lighthouses. But typically a small percentage is used, and a small percentage means a smaller control distance for these items. Aguro, however, does have items that are made out of pure suspendium, which are both expensive and rare. But where did he get them from? He stole them from the Kun family head, Edwan Kun. Although Edwan is his father, he will definitely kill him for stealing his shit, literally. Also, the position test teachers admitted that the teams were not actually balanced. Next up is Team B's test, and starting off, Endorus's fighting style is still different, and we get to learn about her family. He also confirmed that her family is very weak, and the head of the family is the only ranker they have. The whole situation was a lot more messy than in the anime. For starters, Quanta was more than capable of handling Ho, but Ho was inside the safety zone. Also, the spear bearers betrayed the team big time. They took 2 hostages and blackmailed the light bearers to do as they wish, and they were attacking Quanta while Ho was holding Rahel as hostage and hiding inside the safety zone. And I need to mention that ignition weapons deserve some justice, because they were a lot more cooler in the webtoon than in the anime. If you find this video useful, please like it and consider subbing for the channel. Moving into episode 10. During Aguro and Rak's conversation, Aguro explained to Rak his past with Maria much more clearly. Aguro was a part of the main family, and he had to deal with a lot of politics, which made him hate a lot of people that are close to him. Meanwhile, he liked Maria since she was not from the main family. Aguro decided to turn Maria into a princess instead of his biological sister because of that same reason, which meant his sister lost her place to be a princess and got his close family kicked out. Even though Rak insulted Aguro, Rak clearly gave him a good advice: kill the king and make her yours, or something like that, which led them to look a lot more like a team than in the anime. After that, Rak and Aguro decided to help Bam, and the first thing they were doing was collecting a team. Now we go to Lobobia Rin and what he was up to. He had apparently one more target in the webtoon and wanted to hire Bam. The 2 targets were not specified, but it is safe to assume they were Anak and Rachel. When Aguro went through his plan for the position test, he explained it a lot more clearly. The 2 things that were added are: Aguro did warn Rahel about Ho, and he also told Endorisi to make sure that Bam does not meet Rahel, which will make Ho unable to do anything. Also, Aguro has always planned for Rachel to climb with him and Bam. Her name was even written in the friend list assignment. The goal was to keep her around Bam until eventually Bam is strong enough that Rahel will have to rely on him. But we all know how that ended. The Roro have actually started to point out that this test is completely abnormal. 2 princesses, the Green April and the Black March, and an irregular and a very talented kid. For some reason, this batch of regulars are genuinely strong. Next up was another completely deleted scene, and it is about the dangerous people Han Sang-yu have mentioned to Leroro. When asked, Han Sang-yu confirmed major events that caused a lot of problems by the 2 irregulars, Orek and Phantominium. The first was Phantominium's incident, and the incident was he invaded the king's castle. and killed all the king's powerful rankers that were guarding the place and barely leaving any survivors. In fact, he only left 2 if I recall correctly. The other one was about Orik Mazuno and his organization Holik Song. Orik on his own is so strong and his organization is also so strong that powerful people and families would rather avoid them completely, and that is what the kind of chaos the irregulars did bring into the tower. Obviously there is one more story, but it's not mentioned, so we're not going to talk about it here. Thanks to these kinds of problems, the floor of test needed to change so they would be able to keep people like that. Moving into Bam requesting his test from the guardian of the floor. After requesting the special test, he met with Han Sang-yu, who admitted that he manipulated Ho into doing everything. He also admitted that the crown game contest was to make Bam meet Rachel so he can quit his climb. And that also was completely deleted. Finally, unlike the show, Ho's funeral was after the admin's test was announced. Also, Bam started training with Endorsi afterwards. Next up is episode 11, and I gotta say, for some reason, the sniper guy actually lasted for a very long time. In the anime, he left out during the Leroro Shinsu Wall challenge, but in the webtoon, he is still alive and is taking the final test with the others. I didn't think he was gonna make any that. Obviously, he did not make any difference, which is why I never mentioned him, but well done, sniper guy, for lasting this long. Also, the big guy, Rahel's bodyguard, joined the admin test as well, unlike the anime where he just vanished. It is sad to say, but Lobo Beer Rin's fighting style is almost non-existing in the anime. In fact, it's been completely nerfed. In the webtoon, Rin fights Anak using what seems like a weapon, or half weapon, half animal, something. That thing uses a Shinsu cannon and a shield. There is a chain connecting that thing into another one, but that one uses what looks like a giant needle or a fang that he used to stab Anak with. In the anime, he stabs her using his tongue. Yeah. In episode 12, Yuri's team showed up, and it is bigger by 2 members. The 2 members have not done anything significant. Also, it is a part of the tower's rules that rankers cannot attack regulars, especially during a test. But this test is different. It is being carried by the floor admin. In a situation like Ren attacking Anak, the admin should have intervened and stopped Ren, and the admin is capable of it. However, since this test has been requested from Bam, the test will follow everything the admin wants, and the admin does not seem to care about some rules. And what I mean by that is, it's been confirmed that both Rin and Yuri were supposed to get involved, and both of them were a part of the test. But later, when Yuri wanted to help Bam, she was told she cannot because her role ended in the test, and the admin would not allow her to do anything more. Simply put, the difference between an admin test and a normal one: if this test was normal, Rin wouldn't be able to even touch Anak, which is why he waited until an opportunity like this to come. His initial plan was to follow her into the next floor, apparently. But since the admin is holding the test, the rules will probably that they will have to survive against Rin until Yuri shows up. Now we move into a different character, which is Koradon and his ability. Koradon did not defeat Rin the same way in the show. Originally, Koradon is what seemed to be a wave controller, and his ability allows him to attack Rin while being near Evan, which is from too far away. And he did not even show up in the underground to begin with. And finally, and also sadly, Rin didn't die. He survived. In fact, that was a fake body he was controlling. It's not been said, but if the real Rin died, then the bull will not be able to attack Bam. Now finally with episode 13. During the gathering where everyone was waiting for news about Bam, Rak and Endorsi were not there. Probably because they were genuinely upset and maybe grieving. Also, according to the test, they should have failed, but it seems like Bam made a request to the admin that if he dies, he will pass the others. And the admin agreed. Either way, that is everything for season 1. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.